Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Align, where we help you live your best life by being aligned with your true self, with others, and your desired outcome. Today is a near and dear topic for both Aline and I, and probably all women out there, and that's both inner and outer confidence. And a little bit of background, Aline, since we've met, I've always noticed this cool, quiet confidence about you. And ever felt the need to be like the loudest person in the room. You never had to feel the need to like get attention, but you would get the attention. You would draw people in. And as I got to know you better, I've only learned that you were even more and more secure with yourself. So that's why I wanted to bring you on board. And given your, former model background, you've definitely seen the dark sides when people lack confidence. And being Brazilian, coming to America, you had to relearn a whole set of rules of cultural norms and what you should be and not be, right? So that's why I really wanted you to do this session with me. And this is a topic that I constantly get from girls saying like, how are you so confident? How are you always so poised? Like, what is it? What are you doing? What are you wearing? All this stuff. And I'm like, it's not that I'm doing or wearing anything. And we'll get into it. It's just an essence. It's a feeling. So I'm excited to dive right in with you. Aline, you ready to go?
Yeah, same here. I'm very excited. Thanks for having me. It's a topic that's very close to my heart. So we're going to have fun.
Awesome. I'm excited. So first and foremost, how do you define confidence and why is it so important?
Well, I think confidence is something that's very closely related to your self-awareness. The more you know yourself, the more you know what you want, the things that you allow that, in your life, like that's the starting point. Like if I know who I am, if I know who I want, it's just easy to send that message to the world and just to kind of filter whatever is not that,
Right.
Yeah. And people will perceive that if you know exactly who you are.
Right. Why do you think it's important? Why do you think it's important to have confidence?
I think confidence is important in every aspect of our lives, not just in the professional setting, in relationships, because that's when you're able to stand your ground. You're going to set boundaries. You're going to express exactly what you want, what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. And it's very attractive, when people, they know who they are. They know what they bring to the table. It's just, it's very interesting. And it definitely makes a difference.
I agree. I think for me, confidence is just truly knowing and loving every part of you, the good and the bad, right? Like you know what your strengths are and you go all in, but you don't, and you're mindful of your weaknesses, but you don't fault yourself for it, right? Or you don't beat yourself over it.
Yes.
I also think that it is much more about your trust in yourself and your journey, that you can achieve and do whatever it is that you want as long as you put your mind to it. I think that to me is like this inner like knowing. It's like you're a tree with very deep roots in your inner.
I like what you said about knowing your flaws and not beating yourself up for it, because that acceptance is, well, one, it's something that's going to help you work on those flaws, because we're all trying to be better, right? So if we know our strengths and we project that to the world, and we also accept our faults, I know I need to improve this. Like, for example, I'm not the best listener. It's something, I talk, and sometimes I forget to listen to what people are saying. That doesn't mean that I don't care about what you're saying. It just means that it's much easier for me to just talk a lot. And, so that's just, but it can be perceived as something that's inconsiderate. So I know that about me, and I have been trying to work on that, and I don't hate myself because of it. It's how I am, and I'm trying to be better. So that's how you should approach it.
Right. I think maybe you're being a little hard on yourself, but I never felt like unheard by you.
Yeah, so, sometimes I get a little carried away.
Yeah, maybe I just get lucky with you then. Like you have to listen to me. Awesome. So, when did you start developing confidence? I think it'd be helpful for the audience to hear how we built and had our confidence journey. So, would love to hear how you cultivated it. When you had setbacks, how did you get back on top?
Yeah, I think my journey with confidence is it's a little funny one because I was always super confident when I was a child. I was super, expressive and talkative, and I knew who I was from, early on. And then that kind of faded a little bit for a moment in my teen years. People were always telling me that I talked too much or that I was too opinionated, and that started to get to me, and it kind of mined my confidence a little bit. And I tried to like listen to all these opinions because obviously some of those people who said that were people that were important to me, and I felt like I was getting lost trying to please those people. And then in my early 20s, that's when I was like, you know what, I need to figure out who I am, what I want, and I'm going to stand by it and just pretty much tune out all the noise,
Yeah.
and so that's when I regained my confidence. It was pretty much my early 20s.
I know, when your former modeling days, you're always nitpicked about everything and things that you can't change about your body, right? And I feel like there's no limit, right? Like you can always be more beautiful, or someone thinks you are like dirt bag ugly, and then someone thinks you're like this most gorgeous thing. Like every photographer has their own standard. So how did you like create a boundary system for negative feedback? How did you deal with that?
Yeah, it's hard when you're young because usually models, they start very early. They're definitely not developed yet, not their bodies, not their confidence. It's everything's still a process. So that's very hard for them to deal with that criticism. For me, it was a little bit like that because I did a photo shoot when I was 15, and it was a disaster. It almost finished my modeling career forever. I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to do it again. It was not fun. The photographer was really intense. She was criticizing my every move, and it was my first photo shoot. So obviously, and she knew that, and she didn't care. And then many years later, when I was 23, I decided to give it another go. But that was different because I was now, much more mature. I knew who I was. I knew how to communicate better, to express things to people better. And I actually worked again with that same photographer many times later, and it went well, because when she was being difficult, I would be like, okay, so what do you want me to do? Let's work on this. Let's fix it. Let's focus on the solution instead of just, you're complaining about whatever, and I don't even know what you're saying, Yeah. So that's the difference between a teenager, without any confidence, not knowing who they are, that they can actually say things, just wanting to please the professional and do a good job. And a woman who knows what she brings to the table, who wants to do a good job, but also who wants to be heard and who wants to have a conversation. Okay, so let's do this together, So that's on confidence. And when it comes to the body, obviously in the modeling industry, people are going to say you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too short, you're too tall. You can't let that get to you. You need to love yourself regardless. So you actually have to grow a thick skin to work on that industry because it can really destroy you.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when like literally every single day you're getting 90 no's, 2 yeses, right? When you do all these additions and whatnot. So super helpful. I think on my end, what developed my confidence is similar to you. When I was very young, I was naturally confident. I was naturally, like action oriented. So for me, my confidence came from like ability to achieve certain things or do certain things. And I was always very competitive about myself, where like every day I wanted to be a little bit better than the day before. And I was in grade school when I was badly bullied. Like I think it was like 3rd or 4th grade or something like that, where like I'll be on the bus leaving to go to get off on my stop, and a boy would literally grab my shirt like this to hold me up and bully me. And they would say things like, oh, given I'm Chinese, like, oh, we're going to go home and eat rice, and start laughing. And I'm sitting there like looking at them like, yeah, I'm Chinese. I'm going to go home and eat rice with chopsticks. Like I didn't get it. I was like, this is very accurate. You guys are right. Like, I'm not sure why this is a thing, Although say things like, oh, is Jet Li your father? And I'm like, I wouldn't mind if my father was a movie star. Like I never understood all the comments, right? And so it was very frustrating because for me, I was like, there's no reason for someone to bully me just because I'm a certain skin color. And I think I was really grateful that my parents always very like had my head screwed on right. And my dad's always like, Jess, all this stuff does not matter. What matters is like your studies, your ability, are you a good person? Like that's what matters. And I think I never let that stuff get to me. And so it was very interesting when literally over one summer, all of a sudden the guys start looking at me differently. And then, God looks at you, they have like a sparkle in their eye.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, is everyone possessed? Like, what is going on? The same guys that bullied me, all of a sudden, I was like the object of desire. And I think puberty happened. And all of a sudden, everything switched. And I think you throw in the Asian fetish thing too. It's like this whole new trend. It made me realize it was so confusing because I'm like, wait a minute, nothing about me changed. The only changed was their perception of me. And the only thing I felt like, no matter what happens in life, the only thing that I have is how I see myself. So that I was so grateful for all that experience because it made me realize people can flip a switch any moment, but you need to keep that switch on for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's when I realized, wow, this is what confidence is. It's just an inner knowing of your opinion really doesn't matter, right?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Like your value doesn't really change because someone failed to see it, or maybe because someone put you on a pedestal. It doesn't really change.
Exactly.
It's constant, right? It's what you bring to the table. If
Right.
they're going to perceive it less or more or accurately, like it's on them. It's not on you.
Right. And I've noticed as I kind of grew into me and went to middle school, high school, the more formative years, and then eventually college, we as humans can literally change people's perception of us and our value by how confident we actually are, not how we appear, right? How we actually are. So I was like, well, this is easy then, it's just working on me will actually change the way people value me.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because that confidence, when you're desperate for approval, for validation, that shows. When you just know who you are and you stand in your power, that also shows in a different way. So I have a story, a coworker, she hated me for no reason. And she was always saying things about me. And I never said anything back. And sometimes my other coworkers would come and, and say, oh, she's saying this about you. And I would just like forget about it and let it go. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, obviously we all worked together. We were both single, me and this coworker. And eventually she realized that we had a lot more in common than what she initially anticipated. And we developed a friendship because I never fueled those little arguments that she wanted to start. I was always polite, nice, myself. And then one day she realized that it was stupid, really, what she was doing. And she started to look at, who I really was. And we became the best of friends, really close friends. And, imagine if I had just given into, that initial thing that she had with me, we would have never become friends. And, it probably would have been awful at work, that situation, that negativity. And for what? For what reason?
Right. Great.
So when you're confident, when you know that you're not doing anything, that you're just being you. So, people are going to see it. Yeah. And they might be surprised. They might actually really like what they see.
Yeah. I love that. And I feel like, if anything, I always joke around when there's so many stereotypes about whether you're women, you're female, you're not, like whatever it is, right? I always say use it to your advantage, right? To your point of your coworker, she saw you as here, right? You did anything.
This model type woman, she probably was a little insecure. I don't know what she thought, but it immediately made her not like me.
Right. So she had this bad idea, or like what you thought you would be, and then you being a kind person, like you didn't have to do so much. You just being you. She was like, wait a minute. Oh wait, she's actually a lot cooler than I expected, right? So that's so awesome that you didn't take it to heart, but you're like, you know what? You're gonna come around. you're going to see that like what you thought of me is just completely not in the range of what I really am. So
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
love it. That's awesome. So speaking of confidence, do you think it's dangerous to draw confidence from just one aspect of your life?
Oh my God, yes. It's really dangerous,
Yep.
because, well, we're not what we look like right now. We're going to change, right? Like we're going to get older. Um, our bodies are going to transform. Our jobs might not be here tomorrow. Jobs become obsolete.
Yeah.
It's like everything is changing. It's moving. So if you attach yourself to a relationship, to the way you look, to a job, to your family, that's super dangerous. You have to attach yourself to your essence, to who you really are inside, and that should be it. That should be your compass,
Yeah.
because everything else is so, like,
Transient.
yeah, it's everything changes. You can't really hold on to it. Obviously we should celebrate where we are right now. I'm not saying just to abandon all those things. I think they are part of who you are. They contribute to the person you are. But if you get too attached to one aspect of your life, that's definitely dangerous.
Mm.
Like you might lose yourself if you lose that aspect.
Right.
Um,
And I see most of the time women who put way too much emphasis on looks and looking perfect and being perfect and spending all this time. And I think that focus is akin to you walking down Fifth Avenue and you see this beautiful store with beautiful windows. It looks gorgeous and you're drawn and you're like, oh, I want to go in. And you go
mhm.
inside and there's nothing there. No product, nothing, no people, no service, nothing.
Yeah.
You don't want to be just this empty box and nothing. No one's going to stay in the store, right? People are
You
going to
might be invited in, but you're not going to want to stay.
nope,
That's the perfect metaphor.
right? And I think you also mentioned, it was like wrapping paper. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be the whole package, but you want to have content. You want to be something. You don't want to, you don't want to portray to the world like this beautiful wrapping paper, this gift that you are, but then once they open it, it's empty. There's nothing there.
Right.
So what's the point? Like the wrapping paper is going to be tossed, right?
Right.
So yeah. So I
And
feel like, yeah, no, I feel like we should keep that in mind, because I know that looks are important and we can't deny that. Like that's the first thing you see about people. It's the way they look. Like that's attractive. That can be attractive. But that in itself is not everything. Like how many times have you met someone who's really attractive and you start a conversation with them and you're like rolling your eyes, right? Like, and the same thing happens sometimes when you meet someone who's not your type. It's not the most attractive person, but they have something about them, like they just have this smile, or it's the energy. I don't know. There's something, the je ne sais quoi about them, that it just attracts you to this person, to this person. So that's what we want to have. That's what we want to develop. That's what we want to tap in.
right. I was speaking of energy and vibe, right? So people always say the word like, oh, I'm vibing or not vibing with someone. And there's no like substance to it. I was just talking to one of my friends yesterday who was much more on the scientific side of things. He explains it as resonance, right? So when you think about cells and atoms and how they kind of move about, you have more force and power when they're moving together in the same wavelength, the same resonance, right? So in order for you to be magnetic or attractive, you need to have that resonance. And how do you get that? It's connection. It's your values, your passions. Like, can you talk about interesting things? Can you find points of similarity with the person next to you that you can actually vibe and resonate with, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and we talked about this, Aline, where I've gone to a ton of parties with you where you walk in and the girl who's getting the most attention, it's not the hottest girl in the room, right?
Yeah.
It's a girl who's funny, she's dynamic, she doesn't care, she's having a blast, she's just, having a good time, being very free. And the hottest girl in the room is sitting there on her phone, fixing her hair, taking selfies, talking about a fake life that she doesn't have. Like, that is not attractive at all.
Absolutely. Like you want to be around people who are passionate about life, who have things to discuss and who are open to you, their energy is inviting.
Yes.
If they're too caught up in their own whatever it is, like you don't feel like, you feel like a block. Like you don't feel like you're, allowed to get close.
Right.
And you don't really want to do that because they're like, that's not attractive to you. Like they're all about themselves. Like,
Exactly. So
why
what
would
should
you
we talk about? Like your hair, your makeup, right?
No, I mean, if people get too carried away with the superficial things about themselves, like, it's just a shame.
Yeah.
It's not how it should be.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
What's the relationship between confidence and authenticity?
They're very closely related, in my opinion. Like, I think one stems from the other. I think if you're aligned with your values, your goals, your dreams, the things that you can bring to the world, the things that you want to achieve, that's going to project an image of confidence to everyone around you, like, but that alignment has to happen first. Like, you need to figure out who you are,
Right.
and forget about the supposed tos. Like, women are supposed to, Brazilians are supposed to, you're supposed to, about this time, you're supposed to have this or do that. Like, you're not supposed to shit. You're supposed to find yourself in your purpose and be happy, and and let that energy just be contagious to people around you.
I love that. One second, I think my food. One second, I think I have to go get my seamless. Hi, thank you so much. Have a good night. Have a good day. All right. That was my lunch. Okay, awesome. I agree with you on all that. I think the relationships between confidence and authenticity, I think, to your exact point, confidence is when you are authentic, like you fully embrace who you are, like just fully, right? And I think there's a fine line between being confident and pompous, right? When you're confident, you're so you're so authentically you, and you own it. You own every aspect of it. When you're pompous, you actually don't like everything about yourself, and you feel like you're not enough. So you feel the need to overcompensate, right?
Yes.
You're no longer authentic. You're doing too much. You're making a show, right? So I think that fine line, when you don't have authenticity and you don't really believe that you are enough as is, you come off very pompous, and it's no longer confidence.
Right. Yeah. And also, I feel like it's important to say that when you are confident, when you know who you are, you're going to pretty much be more firm about your boundaries. So even if that displeases people, like, you're going to be like, well, but this is who I am. This is how I like things done. You're not going to be afraid of other people's opinions about you. You're going to stand your ground. You're going to pretty much say, well, this is who I am,
Right.
And sometimes with people who are just trying to appear confident, they're not necessarily going to do that because they want you to perceive them as whatever, the best, or, and they're going to pretty much shift their personality to appear a certain way for certain people. And that's not true confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
Confidence, like knowing exactly who you are, what you want, and it doesn't matter if people are going to like you or not.
Right.
That's being pretty much unapologetic.
I love that. Body image and self-confidence. Every woman's had their journey. Every woman's still going through their journey. It would be helpful, I think, for the audience, for us to share our journey. How did you cultivate it? How did you get here?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just so hard for us as women in our society. We have all these pressures to look a certain way. And yeah, I mean, I remember when I was a teenager, I was super skinny, like weird looking even a little bit. And I didn't perceive myself as super pretty. And then, like you said, like puberty hits, and then all of a sudden you become like, you look like a woman and people are looking at you, desiring you. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, so I guess I am pretty, right? Like, I didn't know that, but I guess I am. And then, and you have all this attention. And then if you gain weight, and that's very important in Brazil, if you gain weight, if you're not looking your best, people are going to tell it to your face. And you have to be able to handle that, you know, and not let it get to you. So I feel like I've been all sizes. I've definitely been on the chubby, much chubbier side. I've had skin problems. And, you know, I feel like what you have to do is, okay, so what is my best self, like physically speaking? You know, how do I feel more comfortable with myself and confident? You know, and it's not just about others, it's about me. It's about how do I feel like me?
Yeah.
How do I love myself more? So is it when I'm hitting the gym and I have more energy and clothes fit better and I feel younger, you know? So if that's it, then fine. If, you know, like you have to follow your recipe pretty much. You have to find your best, whatever, you know, and you have to also respect the phases that you go through. So, you know, we've been through quarantine, obviously, you know, some people gained weight, some people lost hair and their skin is all effed up. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's okay. And that's okay. You know, your body is just reacting, dealing with a bunch of emotional things. It's hard on everybody, you know, like you have to kind of stop being harsh on yourself and just respect these phases, you know, and knowing that you're going to get to your best self eventually once your mind is back in the right place. And, you know, don't be so hard on yourself. I guess that would be my advice. You know, that's what I tell myself. Like if I don't look my best right now, or, you know, if my skin is not the best, my hair is not the best, whatever, well, you know, how do we get there? And it's okay if we're not there right now. Right. You know, I still love myself. I'm not going to not go out. I'm not going to hide, you know, at home and not see people. And, you know, this is who I am right now. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be like this forever. It's going to change. Right. And still, it's not all of who I am. I'm much more than my body. I'm much more than what I look like.
Right. Right. No, I hear you on that. I think, similar to you, what eventually got to me was the fitness aspect of things. But growing up, being an Asian American, Asian household, you know, genetically, we are skinny, right? And so puberty hits and you start getting hips. And, you know, I am definitely raised with I loved American food. I still had American diet. Like there's cheese and milk, and I was no longer a stick figure, right? So that was one thing. And then secondly is growing up, I mean, my age and era was Victoria's Secret. Like that was the epitome of like the American girl, right? And like, or what you're supposed to look like. So in my mind, like I've always like since I was 13, I started restraining my eating. I was counting calories, like doing all the stuff because I want to preserve this like twiggle look that I had. And I think it got really bad when I came back from studying abroad in Prague, and I was just completely in the worst state, like I wouldn't say depression, but definitely like heading towards it. Because I just came back from a fairy tale land, a fairy tale life, and I had to face reality. I was upset, heartbroken, just all the things. And the only thing I couldn't control anything. The only thing I could control is what I was eating. That was literally what I could control. And so somehow I just discovered like running, and like I don't know how, it just kind of happened. I just wanted to, you know, get into fitness, and that changed it for me. Like it became like the addiction became the feeling and wanting to be healthy and fit than it was about like, you know, looking a certain way. And then as my body evolved, where like I became toned, right? And I would have all the curves that I wanted to have, but I like it started embracing like the non-stick figure look. And what really hit for me was I was in my early 20s, and I was seeing a guy who was like a fitness trainer and like sculpted like a god, and like the epitome of what I thought was like the perfect man. I remember we were having our late night talks, and I was going through Instagram, he was going through Instagram, and I was like, oh, look at this girl, like she has a perfect body. And he goes, what? And he showed me his version of perfect, which is tone, like very like, I mean, she's like a fitness model, right? And I was like, why is she so muscular? We were just like debating. And I showed him a picture of a girl who was a Victoria's Secret model. And he goes, Jess, there's two options. There's either fat or there's muscle. Skin and bone is not an option. And that hit me, because I knew what it took, because I've gone through it in my journey. I knew what it took to look like that. And
yeah, it's unrealistic. It's definitely not healthy.
Right. and like my energy level, I could never stay out late. Like there were so many things that I couldn't do because I just didn't have the energy. And so, I mean, thank God for his comment. But like from that day on, it was like a spearhead into the fitness journey where I'm like, I'm going to embrace whatever I look like as long as I eat healthy, I take care of myself. And it turns out like you can eat a lot when you work out.
Right.
Actually,
Yeah,
more.
I know. That's the beauty of it. You know, you can just not worry that much about what you're eating as long as it is you're consistent with your fitness, you know, and then you just feel great. You hate it when you're about to go every time. Like you hate it. Oh my God, I don't want to go. I don't want to do it. Then you're there, you do it, and you leave, and you never regret it. It's just that fantastic feeling, you know, that boost of energy. You just want to take on the world. And you can eat whatever and you're going to look great and feel great. So, yeah.
I love that. So true.
Mm-hmm.
Judgment, jealousy, cattiness. We see all of this a lot in women. And sadly, oftentimes from friends or close friends, right? So, you know, women can be the biggest critics of themselves and others. What are some tips and tricks or thoughts that you would want to share with women to make it clear, like, this is not productive, and you're not going to eventually get where you want to be using the little green monster. So, you know, how can we think about this? How do we find healthier habits to get us to where we want to be?
I mean, we can't really blame women for thinking that way. This is what we've been taught since we were little kids, right? Like to compete with each other for the attention of men. Like we have to look a certain way to be attractive to men. It's like the main focus in a woman's life is like to look pretty, to be desired, to, you know, to acquire a husband, whatever, you know, like it's always for the man, it's always towards the man. And then we compete with each other. And that's definitely not productive. So, I mean, I've definitely dealt with it before. And if you are a friend with this person, you know, if you feel like you have an open communication going on with them, you should definitely address that issue and just making them see that, first of all, that shouldn't be the main goal of their life, is like to look a certain way or to attract, you know, the attention of a guy. They have a lot more to explore and to build. And second of all, if they don't really see that they have to focus on their own journey and, you know, to get things going on for themselves, if they're unable to do it, well, maybe you should just kind of step away a little bit and protect your energy, because, you know, you should be friends with people who put you, you know, in a positive state, who just build you up, who support you, who make you feel like you're, you know, you feel good about yourself, and who make you want to feel better and be better. So if you're caught up in a situation where you're like in a frenemy situation with, you know, your girlfriends, that's not good. You should definitely talk about it, try to work on this. And if nothing changes, then I don't know, just find better friends. I don't know. That would be my advice, you know, because just because we like people, that doesn't mean that they should be in our lives, right? It should be something that brings something to your life. It adds to your life. If it's something that's getting you anxious, you know, it's sucking your energy. So, you know, what's the point? That's not how it should be. And that goes for romantic relationships too. You know, that's not the point of connecting with people. They should be embracing you and elevating you, you know, and you should do the same. That's how it goes pretty much.
Right. Yeah. And I think I echo all of that. I would just also add, you're not supposed to look like anyone else, because that's why you have a unique DNA, right? So it's kind of stupid and fruitless for you to compare yourself. And also everyone, you mentioned it earlier, everyone has their own journey. Everyone has their own set of tools and toolkits to get them where they want to be. Like, it doesn't make any sense for you to compare with another woman who you don't know what she's gone through to get where she wants to be. Like, you don't know her day to day. You only see the highlights, especially if it's on social media, right?
Exactly.
So I, again, highly recommend, focus on you, focus on how you can make yourself better and more attractive, and have many different things about your full life than just one aspect of your life that's full.
Yeah, I feel like people forget that, you know, even when other people who inspire you, when they get to they achieve things, they get to a certain point. You don't know all they had to do to get there. You know, that hasn't been advertised. So it takes sacrifice, you know, it takes hard work. You know, even if it seems easy to you, you don't know what they've been through, you know. So just work on yourself. You know, like stop comparing yourself. That definitely is not going to do anything for you. Just look at what you have and look at what you can do with what you have right now to get to where you want to be. But that doesn't work if you don't know who, you know, if you don't know who you are, if you don't know where you want to get, you're never going to get anywhere. Right?
Right. I agree. And I think as we head towards the end of the session a little bit, want to just highlight also social media, right? Like you can't compare yourself to the highlight reels that's filtered, altered. Like I never knew until I saw it with my girlfriends. You could literally take an app and pinch your waist and change your entire face and do all this stuff to the point where like celebrities don't even look like themselves. And they're the best surgeons, guys. Like, come on.
It's so scary. It's ridiculous.
Right? So if you're going to compare, why don't you take your best photo, filter the crap out of it, change the background, add some fake cars and whatever, and then compare that image to Instagram, because that's what's happening, right? So if you want to have a fair fight.
You might as well, you know, create an avatar.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Doesn't make any sense.
But no, awesome. Well, Aline, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I think I've always like gravitated towards you since day one, because you, as I mentioned, like have this cool, kind confidence about yourself. And I just feel so lucky to have a good girlfriend like you, because, you know, as we know, sometimes it's hard to find good girlfriends, you know, especially during our age. Like it is some sensitivities when people are, you know, even their 20s or 30s or even 40s. Like I think women can sometimes take a little bit longer to find themselves. So I just feel so fortunate to have you in my life where we can talk about these things, be honest, and whenever we need each other to, you know, dissect third party situations, we have that. But I do want to wrap up by asking you, what do you think your unique gift is? Because I think everyone has a gift.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. This has been an absolute honor. I love you. You're very inspiring to me. I've already told you that. I think you're fantastic. And well, I think my gift to the world is something that's been present with me, I guess, since I was, you know, I've recognized myself as a person. It's communication, you know, like that desire and the ability to communicate with people. And maybe that's why I was always so eager to learn other languages. You know, at first it was English, and then now others. It's, if I could pick a superpower in the world, it would be to speak every language there is. You know, I just think it's fascinating to learn more about people, their backgrounds, their cultures. And yeah, I mean, I feel like that's so important, you know, to be able to express to the world who you are and to have people do the same. And so you can connect, you know, that we're all connected anyways, even if we don't want to be. That's the reality. That's all there is, you know. So if we are able to work on it and build those bridges and connect better with people, the world is going to be better, you know. So yeah, I feel like that's my mission. It's like to connect with people, to communicate with people.
I love it. Thank you, Aline. I love you.
Thank you. Love you.
Besos.